The first thing that hit the ground wasn't her body, it was the tiny hearing device that slipped from her ear and clattered across the sidewalk. By the time 14-year-old Maya Johnson's ribs met the concrete outside the Brookdale Public Library, the damage was already done. She had started that morning, like any other red hoodie pulled tight against the wind sketchbook tucked under her arm, headphones around her neck, though no music was playing. She liked the feel of them. A shield. A quiet way to tell the world she wasn't available. But silence doesn't protect you when someone decides it's a threat. She never heard the patrol car roll up behind her. Never heard the officer bark his command. What she felt was a forearm pressing her face into rough pavement grit cutting her cheek. Her hands shot out not to fight, but to sign frantic shapes of fingers spelling out confusion. She didn't get far. The man wrenched her wrists together, muttering, "Stop resisting," as if the words could erase what the cameras across the street were already capturing. A cafe owner named Tanya dropped her mop, ran into the street, yelling, "She's deaf! She's a kid! What the hell are you doing?" But by then, Maya's sketchbook had spilled open pages of superheroes with capes and hearing aids scattering in the wind like broken birds. And under her collarbone, a hidden sensor pulsed red, an emergency code sent straight to her father. Miles away in Washington, Victor Johnson was in the middle of a federal briefing about fraud and contracting. He barely glanced at the screen, flashing in front of him, until he read the name. Maya Johnson. Trauma detected. Location Brookdale, Georgia. In that second, the charts and voices in the room evaporated. He was no longer Inspector General Johnson, the man who investigated corruption with icy precision. He was just a father. His chair scraped back. "Family emergency," he said flatly. The door slammed behind him before anyone could protest. Within 23 minutes, a jet with no tail number was in the air. He didn't call backup, didn't tell his chain of command. This wasn't a mission for country. This was his daughter. At the hospital, chaos reigned. Paramedics shouted vitals. Doctors rushed her through double doors. Blood soaked through the pale pink of her hoodie. Dr. Olivia Kane peeled back gauze and whispered, "She's just a child." Then she saw the intake sheet. Next of kin, Victor Johnson. Her eyes widened. Everyone in government circles knew that name. She snapped an order, locked the floor down. No leaks, no distractions. Victor didn't walk in through the front like a man with a title. He came in through a service corridor, disguised as a janitor pushing a cart. Nobody looked twice. In room 4-12, Maya lay motionless, wires snaking from her arms, machines beeping like faint echoes of life. Victor sat beside her, calloused hand brushing her scraped fingers. "You raised your hands to speak," he whispered, "and they made it a crime." He didn't cry. Not yet. He just made a promise in silence. The thing about secrets is they leak. Tanya's phone footage hit 3 private servers before nightfall. A shaky video of a red hoodie slammed to the ground, hands twisted, lips moving without sound. And Officer Bennett, the rookie, partnered with the man who threw Maya down, sat in his apartment, staring at a copy of his body cam he'd hidden. He'd seen it too clearly. Maya wasn't resisting. She hadn't even turned around. He knew if he spoke, his career was over. But if he stayed silent, a child's voice stayed erased. So he hid the file, waiting for a moment he didn't believe would come. Victor didn't wait. He set up in a crumbling duplex near the hospital with 2 people he trusted. Kira, a hacker who could peel back city firewalls like wrapping paper, and Caleb, an old combat medic with a shotgun always within arm's reach. "What are we looking for?" Caleb asked. Victor's voice was cold steel. Why they chose her. Hours later, Kira found it. A pilot program, Predictive Threat Index. An AI system designed by a defense contractor called Stratus Solutions. On paper, it flagged behavioral anomalies. In reality, it tagged kids who didn't fit a neat picture of normal. Code 194H, unrecognized hand movements. Standing still too long. Wearing headphones. Maya had checked every box just by existing. Worse, a name appeared beside the trigger, Captain Harold Mercer. The same man reassigned after corruption complaints in Atlanta. He'd signed off, confirmed the threat sent those officers. Victor's jaw clenched. She wasn't a suspect, he said. She was a data point. The pieces came together fast. Emails from Mercer to City Hall. Payments from Mayor Evelyn Brooks' discretionary fund to Stratus Solutions. An audio file where Mercer muttered, "She fits the profile." Deaf or not, protocol covers us. Victor didn't rage. He didn't slam his fist. He just stared at his daughter's student ID photo taped to the safe house wall, her gap-toothed smile, her oversized red hoodie. "We burned their story," he said quietly, piece by piece. Protests sparked outside the police precinct. Signs painted by hand read, "Her hands are her voice." Inside, officers whispered about the video they couldn't stop from spreading. Mercer sat in his office, sipping bitter coffee, muttering about leaks. He didn't know Victor was already inside his system. Didn't know every word he typed was mirrored to Kira's screen. And when Victor finally confronted him, well, it wasn't in a courtroom. It was in a parking garage, rain hammering the roof. Mercer's hand trembling as Victor held up a flash drive. "This is you," Victor said. "Your voice, your orders, your guilt." Mercer tried bravado. "You leak that you tear this whole town down. People move on. They always do." Victor stepped closer, eyes like stone. "Then I'll make sure they don't." But it wasn't Victor's voice that changed the tide. It was Maya's. Against the doctor's warning, she asked for cameras. Propped up in a hospital bed, pale but unbroken, she signed slowly while an interpreter spoke. "My name is Maya Johnson. I am 14 years old. I was born deaf. That is not a flaw. That is not a threat. My hands are not weapons. They are words." Millions watched as she signed the lyrics she'd been shaping on the sidewalk that day. "Rise up, mountains, stronger." The chat was disabled, but the view counter exploded. Classrooms paused lessons to watch. Parents cried beside their deaf children. And in cities across the country, contracts with predictive policing programs started collapsing. By the time trial came, the courtroom was packed. Cameras lined the walls, protesters outside held candles. And when Maya walked in wearing the same red hoodie, stained faintly from that night, the world seemed to stop. She stood tall, raised her hands, and signed 3 words, "I will not die in silence." No interpreter was needed. The meaning was clear. Officer Rohrer, the one who pinned her, finally broke, tears streaming down his face. Mercer tried to barter his way out, dragging the mayor into the fire, but it was too late. Evelyn Brooks resigned in disgrace. Stratus Solutions folded within weeks, their investors fleeing as leaked documents showed millions spent on programs targeting Black and Latino communities under the guise of safety. But Victor didn't celebrate. He sat beside Maya in the quiet afterward, holding her hand as she traced slow letters against his palm. "Am I okay?" she asked in signs. He smiled, the first real smile in months. "You're more than okay," he replied. Together, they built something new. Not revenge, but a platform where parents of disabled kids could share stories, find lawyers, organize. The homepage read simply, "Difference is not danger. Silence is not absence. Listen harder." Maya didn't write a book or cash in. She started free workshops called Silent Power, teaching kids like her to turn sketchbooks and signing into strength. And though some still called her a symbol or a pawn, their voices got quieter. In their place, more teachers learned sign language, more cops returned for training, and small-town councils across America voted to pause AI policing until someone proved it wasn't just codified prejudice. And yet here's the twist that still sparks arguments. Because when the leaks kept coming, people discovered Victor himself had helped design the foundation of the surveillance system years earlier, back when it was meant for cyber threats, not children with hoodies. Overnight, he was called both traitor and hero. A man who built the walls, then tore them down when they closed on his family. Did that make him guilty? Or did it make him the only one who truly knew how to dismantle them? That's for the public to argue, and they do even now. What no one can argue is this: a deaf Black teenager stood up, hands raised, not in surrender, but in speech, and forced a nation to listen. And once silence speaks that loudly, it can't be unheard. So I'll leave you with this. What do you think? Should a man be condemned for building a system that later hurt his own child, even if he was the one who exposed it? And have you ever witnessed someone judged, even punished, just for being different? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'll be reading them. Because this isn't just Maya's fight, it's ours.